Greetings, fellow viewers and Interrailers. Welcome to Paris, my 7th and last stop of our Interrail trip. So this video marks the last of my series as well. While this will be a relatively brief video, here's a couple things that stayed vivid in my mind and I would like to keep it in this documentary. The best thing about my final leg is that it started with an overnight European sleeper service from Berlin to Brussels, not Paris, where I stayed for 6 hours before progressing to Paris, where I spent my final 4 days. The cabins are very old, and in my opinion, the sleeper train cabins to Tibet were better, which says a lot about the conditions of the cabin itself. However, as I was speaking to a lady in Germany who occasionally visits her sister in Brussels, she told me that this, while the carriages are old, is actually a new service, which is surprising considering how populous these two capital cities are. So the fact that the service is new and that the cabins are so old says a lot about how little Europe cares about sleeper trains, which is a bit pathetic. In Brussels, I mainly spent most of my 6 hours visiting the EU city. I visited the Parliamentarium, or the Museum of the Parliament, where I learned more about the three main bodies, the Commission, Council and Parliament of the EU. I wish I booked in advance to visit the actual parliament, but at least I got to learn a lot more and to experience voting in a simulated environment. Now on to the actual 4 days I spent in Paris. In terms of the touristy things, I took a walk along the riverside and looked at numerous attractions from afar, like the fire-destructed Notre Dame Cathedral, the Eiffel Tower, Arc de Triomphe, and various bridges. On that evening, I attended a ceremony below the Arc. Apparently, that flame ceremony happens every day at 6:30 p.m. to lay a wreath for an unknown revolutionist soldier who died to fight for the new republic. This was followed by a visit to the Eiffel Tower where I enjoyed a bit of street music and the light show. While I do have many photos of the light show itself, for the sake of nearly inexistent legalities, I will omit them. To find out why, you should probably check out Half As Interesting's video, Why Photos of the Eiffel Tower at Night Are Illegal, where you will learn a lot about the actual formalities when it comes to the pattern design of the tower itself. The more intriguing part of my visit to the tower, in my opinion, is the numerous TikTok filmers on merry-go-rounds and street vendors, which resembles Deitan Gingzai in China. This is a very blatant reflection of the excessive tourism that has transformed the area. Near midnight, I met a couple hostel mates at the Basilica of the Sacred Heart for a quick pint. And to my surprise, the park was well lit and open through the night, which offers a relatively low-cost venue to socialize. This is very surprising because I think most parks in the UK are closed during the evenings. Unfortunately for my trip, I didn't visit famous museums like the Louvre and the d'Orsay Museum, as well as the Palace of Versailles. The only one I visited was a small museum called the Museum Carnavalet, which tells the history of Paris from prehistoric times all the way to the 21st century. Luckily, I wanted to understand the effort it took to defeat the monarchy and empire ruling repeatedly, apparently. So the 17th to 19th century section entertained me for several short hours, where the French Revolution was elaborately discussed to very great detail. My favorite part of the trip, however, was undoubtedly the Sunday afternoon skate, where more than 500 people participated. I was quite impressed, as I think this might actually exceed the popularity of the London skate, which I already thought was quite popular. While I don't exactly recall the places we skated to, the route was 25 kilometers and there were police escorts along the entire way, which shows how popular the event is. It is also quite interesting considering that there were a lot of children on the skate as well. In summary, I thoroughly enjoyed Paris and my Interrail trip. There was a comfort of traveling with familiar faces as well as the excitement of meeting new faces at hostels. This unique blend made the entire trip an insightful and enjoyable experience. But I must say, as my trip steadily progressed towards its 34th day or the final day, things have gotten a bit stale and I was actually looking forward to going home. Ultimately, I would say Hong Kong stays in my heart and London is home. So for all Interrails and travelers, I wish you all the best and goodbye.